Hello, Fallen Dragonite here again. Today we are looking at the second half of the HD Gunpla SH Figuarts crossover set. This is Tamashii Girl Io. As you can see, she is a very nicely sculpted Mecha Musume style figure with a giant guitar cannon. Kind of weird, but kind of awesome at the same time. The reds, the blacks, the silvers, and the whites kind of make her look like a shrine maiden, if not for the fact that she's not wearing a shrine maiden outfit. Maybe like a ninja of some kind. Who knows? Anyway, we'll take the weapon from her, take her off the stand to get a little bit of a closer look. You can see she has this two-piece backpack, which is currently configured in a wing pack mode. And there is actually 4 different configurations for this thing, but I'm going to take it off. You can see there's the peg that plugs into her back. There's the hole for the stand. There's a joint here, here, here. 2 joints right there. You can see that whole thing fits snugly into the arm itself. But you can get quite a bit of articulation out of that, although things do collide a bit due to the configuration. These are actually 2 separate pieces on each side with ball joints, rotations, and all sorts of hinges. The ball joints are known to pop out. I've actually had this thing pop out a few times when I'm trying to get in certain configurations. There's also the joint, the T-peg there with a little bit of it sticking out like so. And this piece right here, which is actually for the transformation. As you can see, there is the T-slot in her back with the standard hole for the stand. So let's get all of these. Oh wait, I'll take a look at the cannon guitar thing. You can see there's a handle here that folds down, and the other side has a similar one. They're also used for the motorcycle mode and another mode. Here's the handle for the cannon. Nice silver detail on the strings and brass detail on the knobs, and the cannon at the end. You can also see there's a wheel here. I think it's obvious what that's for, but there's actually another reason for this, and you might also notice sculpted detail on either side of the wheel. That is actually for those red foil stickers from the Shurimaru. So yeah, stickers from the Gunpla can be put onto this figure too. I did not put them on yet for the review because this is how you will get her stock. So as for herself, she has this nice red bow on her chest, the Tamashii Nation's logo on her torso, nice red and black with a bit of grayish, the brownish gray that you'd see on Gunplas. Also this little decoration on her hair with a little bit of blue. Her eyes are also very dark blue, although I'm not sure how well that shows up on camera, as well as white boots with black and red highlights. And there's a little bit of gold in her torso and legs and up there. For articulation, she has a ball-jointed head with a hinge on the neckline, although it does make that piece in her neck look a little broken in some positions. You can kind of see into the figure at certain positions. There's a ball joint and a universal hinge in her shoulder. Well over 90-degree bend at the elbow, bicep rotation, swivels and joints in her wrist. Ball joint in the upper torso and lower torso. Although you have to be careful because this piece right here, the lower torso, is soft plastic, whereas this is hard plastic. So you can catch the soft plastic on the hard plastic if you're not careful. Ball jointed hip with a small joint inside. Thigh swivel. Double jointed knee, and you can see the knee plate actually bends as well. And the same kind of rotations and hinges you get in her wrist. A nicely articulated figure, if I do say so myself. Let's get her standing on the base and actually give her some comparisons. So, without further ado, let me get a Reveltech figure, Analette, about the same height as a Reveltech. I have my Figma Dark Magician Girl, who is also roughly the same height. This base might be a little thicker, but about the same height. And finally, I do have an SH Figuarts here. Wicked / Black / Dark Lady, depending on your translation. She seems a little higher, but then again, she's on her tippy toes, so if I were to raise her just a bit to compensate, I'd say they were about the same height too. So yeah, all these anime figures kind of go well in scale with each other. Now then, pop her off the stand. We'll go into her other configurations. But first, little clasping hook that some of these figure stands come with. We're just going to pop that on because we're going to need it for this configuration set. We're going to take this and just pop it back on. This has to go back on first. So we got to line up the hole, stick it back on like so, and we can just position this however we need it. Next, we got to take this section here, rotate these sections forward like so, and then position these so that they're just next to it. Doesn't really matter how you position it, just make it look nice. Don't bother plugging anything in just yet. And that's what I was talking about. How sometimes the ball joint will pop off if you're not careful. Now then, we gotta plug this back in. Again, the instructions say, plug this in first, plug this in second. Very important. So we gotta make sure that we got that T-peg lined up into the joint like so. We're gonna rotate these up just a little. And there is a peg in there where she can put her hands in like so. And come on, like so. So why is she holding these? Well, now we go to this. You rip it right in half, and we plug in a special piece. Peg, slot, like so. Then we just fold out both the handles. If you can't already guess what this is going to be, we take the peg, plug it into where the hole in her there, and we fold her legs so that they are on those handles like so. And of course we gotta take the stand's clip and make sure that she is well held on the stand. So yeah, she has a unicycle mode. This is absolutely ridiculous looking, but it's also kind of awesome too. You can position these however you want really, but for the most part, that is how she's supposed to be in this configuration. So yeah, we'll take her off the base now. And now we're going to actually go into her combined mode with Shoromaru, who I have already pre-transformed, as you can see. Unfortunately, there is an issue that I had when I was transforming him, and these actually pop off. They're actually on these ball joints here, but there is not enough clearance to rotate these because you're supposed to have these in this configuration for the first, and then rotate them around into this configuration for the second. Unfortunately, that ball joint, there's not enough clearance to rotate it when it's in this mode, so when you transform it, make sure to have it in the position you need it, or you're going to have this pop off. I am not going to bother attaching them back on because, again, it requires me to re-transform him to his robot mode in order to ensure that it actually gets on properly. And you can see I have his gun plugged into the side like so. That is going to be for configuration A, which I'm going to be showing in just a little bit. Also, these panels, they're supposed to peg in, but they will pop off as you're fiddling around with this. Sometimes I'll get these things back in, sometimes they'll just pop right out. There's also these two tabs right here. I think I've shown these off in his review, but these are the connection ports right here. We'll take him to the side for later, and we're gonna just rip all this apart for the next part of the transformation. So pop that off, pop that off, pop that off. We're going to set this off to the side. We're also going to fold these in for this part of the configuration. The prep we need to do for her first is to pop off the Tamashii Nations logo. You have to be very careful when you pop this off because this is very tiny. It will be lost easily. Next, we have to fold her head down, fold her arms inward like she's covering her head, and position her legs as tightly to the body as we can, spreading out her legs like so. Don't take that saying the wrong way. You also need to pop this off for later. First things first, gotta take these panels here. There's a tab, slot, another slot. You gotta pop this off carefully not to break the tab, and then hinge it back like so. And this is for configuration A. Well, this is kind of the finicky part of this transformation, and I do have to again say this has to be very carefully done so you don't snap anything. Gotta make sure that these panels are pointed upwards like so. Rotate these panels, and there is a tab and a slot right there. Oh wait, it's this tab right here into that slot. Oh, so I had this backwards. This slot, this tab. Gotta make sure those are plugged in. And yeah, these are easier to do off camera because again, I'm trying to find a slot in black plastic behind the camera. It's a lot easier to do this when it's next to my face. So we gotta keep this split for now. So we gotta, once again, plug this on first. And we are going to make sure that they are pointed upwards, like so. Then we plug This, again, I'm going to take this off camera because it's just going to be easier for me to plug this in when I can actually see where the joint is going. As you can see, I got that in place. Now we have to sandwich this top piece like so. Rotate these down, tab, slot, slot, tab. And again, I gotta do this off camera because I gotta make sure that everything is aligned properly. If it's not aligned properly, tabs may break. Again, I can be a little rougher on this than the Gunpla kit, but I can't be way too rough with it because it will break if you are not careful. Okay, I had that lined up right when I was about to put the camera, but let's see. It's supposed to line up. Come on. There we go. Next we fold these two panels out, like so. And finally, the big wheel. That post goes into the hole where the Tamashii Nation's logo used to be. This is why her legs need to be spread out, because we need enough room to plug in the other half. See, there's a slot there, and the tabs are on that side as I showed you. And I have to do this off camera because it requires it to be very carefully positioned to make sure that everything is aligned properly and in its rightful place. And I missed something. There's a tab and a slot there, so I have to realign that to make sure it's in its proper position. Well, get in there. Yeah, I'm sorry that I have to do some of this off camera, but it's just that, again, a lot of this stuff has to be aligned properly or else it's just not going to look right. Okay, now for this piece, you just plug it in to that hole right there. Again, trying to do this on camera. And then finally there's this piece. It actually goes right under there. Next is kind of a stand for the whole configuration. Of course, this piece came from the model kit. And there is the full combined mode version A. You can kind of see I'm going to have to put the extra detail stickers on the other side. But it is a fairly nice looking motorcycle. Although her legs are kind of exposed on the bottom there. You can kind of see her head and arms in the back. You kind of roll, but again, it's a motorcycle. It's not really supposed to roll on its own too well. Now then, I'm going to have to pop this apart. And we need to do, excuse me for a second. I bumped the back board here. There we go. We need to do configuration B, so we've got to pop all these pieces back apart. Carefully. Gotta make sure we do this carefully. Pop that off. And then we gotta do some serious reconfiguration on this top piece here. Gotta pop that off. Fold these back up. This is going to go in a completely different configuration than before. So first off, got to move these back into the position they were in. And again, that ball joint popped off. So we got to pop that back on. And we gotta rotate these further down. And we gotta make sure these are in a similar position to what it was when she was in her unicycle mode. As for this, we need to rotate these back because they're going to plug in differently. You tilt her head upward as far as it will go and position her hands on those folding handles like so and like so. Like so. Come on, get in there. Now then, I do want to cover something before I continue. She doesn't have any alternate faces or any alternate hands. These are the only hands and face she comes with. Also, we need to spread out her legs just a little more because they are going to be in a different position than they were. So now we got to take this piece again, plug it back into her back. Again, I have to do this off camera because it's just easier for me to see where all the pieces are lining up when it's actually in my face and not on camera. So now, originally we would have put her hands in those little posts, but instead we are now going to sandwich the two halves, which again I have to do off camera because it's just being a bit of a pain to do. Okay, I'm going to line up the pegs off camera so I know what I'm doing here. Okay, got the pegs lined up. We just got to sandwich it together like so. So now it looks like she has a little visor. There's a peg and a hole right there. So we got to position this so that the peg lines up into the hole like it's supposed to. And again, this is where all those joints come into play because it makes it a little tricky to make sure that everything is supposed to be in its proper position. Next up, we take these pieces. There is a peg right there. So we got to make sure that we rotate this and that the peg is pointing in the proper orientation. Yeah. Again, all of these joints. And that popped off. Hang on. Yeah. The major problem with this is all of the joints because you have to make sure that everything is positioned just right. But she is not as bad as the Gundam. The Gunpla half. Because the Gunpla half, yeah, that is going to break if you don't handle it properly. Whereas this, she can take a little bit more abuse than the Gunpla. Just going to make sure that this is positioned like so. And we do the same to the other side. Okay, I'm going to do this off camera again because, again, this is something that you have to make sure all the pieces are aligned properly. And I got this incorrectly proper. Hang on. Yeah, I'm supposed to have it this configuration like so. Hang on. Yeah. Again, the problem with having something with so many joints is trying to get it in the proper orientation. Okay, that is how it's supposed to go. Making sure that joint rests right there. Yeah. I am sorry for doing a lot of this off camera, but again, this thing has a lot of joints, so it just takes a bit of practice and patience to make sure that all of the pieces are in their proper place. Okay. That's the configuration supposed to be. We're also supposed to flip these out because we still need to access that port. And before I do this, I gotta pop this off because it has to go in a different position than before. Again, have to do this off camera because, oh, one other thing. Not only do you have to rotate those top pieces, you also gotta pop out these little foot stands to the side. Come on. Come on. There. Got one out. I have to be careful. Again, this is model kit plastic. It's a lot more brittle and fragile, so I have to be careful when handling this end. So, okay, I got the combination there. Have to put her leg onto that little ledge there. That's already positioned properly, but first we need to take this, plug it in onto those top two holes, like so, and then position the leg onto that holder, and then we take, hang on, yeah, this is kind of hard to do on camera. If I wasn't doing this on camera, this would be a lot easier, but yeah, plug that on there, and there is configuration B. I'm not going to try with the stand this time. I actually like this over A because it actually looks like she's riding the motorcycle. Although it does take a bit of positioning to make sure that all the pieces are in place. Now then you're probably wondering, can you do this combination without the figure in it? You supposedly could, but I wouldn't recommend it because both the top and bottom half are secured to the body of the figure, so without the figure it kind of falls apart because there's nothing keeping these pieces from moving inward and therefore falling off. So without the figure you can't really get this combination together. And that, my friends, is the end of this review, which took several takes because I kept knocking over the backdrop, knocking over the camera like you saw before, trying to get the pieces to line up properly, realizing I have to do it off camera. But it is a really nice display piece. Should you get it? Well, Aiolone is a very nice looking Mecha Musume on her own. All the joints are probably going to be the biggest issue with it because you have to make sure that everything aligned properly and make sure that all the joints are working like they're supposed to. The combination looks nice, but it is also very finicky. Again, you're going to have to play with a lot of the joints to make sure that everything lines up like it's supposed to. But then again, if you have any experience with Masterpiece Transformers, especially some of the earlier ones that have like tons of joints, it's not terrible. Each of the individual pieces are fine to own on their own, but again, you have to kind of get them together in order to really get the whole experience that they're supposed to be for. And in their respective individual modes, they really do look like a pair. They really do look like they belong together too, especially when you get the extra detail stickers on, which I'm going to be doing after this review. But that is my review of this 2-pack. And I hope this actually determines if you are intending to get this set or not. If it looks really good for you, if you like the individual modes, I say go for it. If you're really finicky about model kit transformations, or if you don't like dealing with a lot of joints and making sure everything's aligned properly to get the combination to work, maybe don't get this set, but I personally like it. It looks great. I'm okay with the joints, although it is kind of tricky to do on camera. But that is my review, and I hope to see you guys again next video. Bye!